morning that you rose, all of heaven held its breath, till the stone was moved for good, for the Lamb had conquered death. And the dead rose from their tombs, and the angels stood in awe, for the souls of all who come to the Father are restored. And the Church of Christ was born, and the Spirit lit the flame. Now this gospel truth of old shall not kneel, shall not fade. By His blood and in His name, in His freedom I am free. For the love of Jesus Christ, who has resurrected me. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory, majesty, praise forever to the King of Kings. Praise the Father, praise the Son, praise the Spirit, three in one. God of glory,
Good morning and welcome to Your Pathway Home. It is Matthew Allen with Jason Schofield.
Good morning, everyone, and it's good to see people already tuning in on this Sunday morning. It is a beautiful morning, and I tell you, the coffee's kicking in, and so I'm excited here, Matt, ready to be talking about God's Word, and I hope you guys are as well.
Well, the coffee is here and it's good, and that is a great thing to start the day. Every morning is not complete until you get coffee. And I think I made a good pot this morning, Jason. So hope all of you are doing well. We're so glad you're here and really looking forward to Sunday, the best day of the week. It's June the 1st. Can't believe it's already June. Jason, we are 5 months completed of 2025. How can that be?
Yeah, it doesn't seem possible, but
Yeah, you
I've
know.
noticed that every year on a birthday, I barely get my birthday list made, and it's birthday time again.
Yeah, it is. And for us, just couldn't be more excited about a lot of the things that are happening here this summer at Cornerstone. Tuesday night begins our annual summer series. Mike Grushon will be here to open it up. He's going to be talking about David, a man after God's own heart, and his lesson Tuesday night will be talking about why we need to study David, because he's just such besides Jesus, there's probably no more amount of ink given to any other Bible character but David, which is amazing to think about. God wanted us to learn about that man.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar with our summer series, it's something we do on Tuesday nights during the summer for 3 months with a varied amount of speakers from different bodies of Christ, and really it's just an opportunity for learning, and it's very exciting. But we also have a couple other opportunities for you able to make a connection. One I'm very excited about because my wife did a lot of the design and as a teacher had a lot to do with. So I want to share you about that. But we also have our annual youth conference. So tell us about that, Matt, briefly, and then I'll share
June
about
27th to 29th. This is designed for junior high and high school children, 6th grade and up to 12th grade. We have just a whole big collection of kids that come in and spend the weekend with us every year, the last weekend in June. This year, our guest speaker is Scott Sandusky. He comes to us from Charlotte, North Carolina. And Scott is just a really phenomenal guy. tremendous speaker, really has a knack for bonding and connecting with our young people. And so you can register now for Ignite Youth Conference on our website. If you just go to cornerstone-clc.com/ignite, you can find the registration page there and get in. The event is free to attend. Again, it's Friday night, June 27th, and then all day on Saturday the 28th. And then Scott will be speaking for us on the 29th of June. So all of that's coming up later this month. And
then I want you to also set a date. Write this on your calendar for July the 26th, because what we realize is we were able to make a connection the last few years for our teens, 6th grade up and up. But those under the 6th grade, a lot of our young people are very excited about the Lord in their Bible class, and they come out just full of energy and screaming and with all their papers and stuff in hand, and it just makes us all realize what a love they have for the Lord as well. And we have an opportunity to be able to teach them. And my wife is an educated teacher, and she put together some ideas, took it before the elders, and now there's just a whole group of our members working together. And on July the 26th, we're going to have like what traditionally people might call like a vacation Bible school. I'm not really dragging into that term, but we're calling it our Spark Conference, because there are little ignites or little fires, and we're going to do it. It's a one-day event, and we really hope that you will bring your little one and come. And it's a very interactive event for these kids, where we are doing the travels of Jesus, and we're going to give them a passport, and we are going to dress period specific, and just really have fun learning activities that these kids will forever have in their head about traveling with Jesus. And it's just going to be very exciting. So a great summer of learning, and we're going to try to spend some time with our devoted to our kids.
One last thing we want to let you know of, just kind of a special thing that we're going to do. Our second week of our summer series is June the 10th, and Chris Emerson is going to fly up from Lindale, Texas, and be here with us. Chris is no stranger to Cornerstone. He's been with us the last few years, did our Ignite Youth Conference a few years ago, and then was a speaker. He wrapped up our summer series last year. He did such a great job that we invite him back this year, and he is going to be with us on June the 10th. He is actually flying in the day before, Monday, June the 9th. And we have added a service for Monday night, June the 7th, starting at 7 p.m., where Chris is going to speak for us. And we are wanting to invite everyone out to be present with us at Cornerstone, 7 o'clock, Monday, June the 9th, for just kind of a mini gospel meeting style lesson that's going to be delivered Monday, June the 9th, 7 o'clock. That'll be online as well if you can't make it in. And then Chris will obviously be here Tuesday night for the summer series. And that'll be at 7 o'clock, June the 10th. And then on the next morning, on Wednesday, the 11th, Chris and I are going to appear together on a special podcast to wrap up his 3 lessons on David. And I think it is just going to be a great 3 days with Chris. So that's June 9, 10, and 11. Monday night at 7. Tuesday night at 7, and then we'll do a Wednesday podcast, probably from right here in this room, that will come out and be available for you to watch. So we're excited about that. We wanted to tell you about these upcoming things. There's a lot of stuff going on at Cornerstone during the month of June and even throughout the summer, as you can tell, and we want you to come out and be a part of it.
So for the Pathway Home this morning, on June the 1st, 2025, we'd like you to call your attention to 1 Samuel chapter 3. In 1 Samuel chapter 3, here we have where Eli is really kind of the mentor for Samuel, the very young youth, being dedicated to the Lord. And kind of in training for the Lord's service. And he, of course, to be a prophet later. And during this process, you get this picture in 1 Samuel chapter 3 that Samuel is in bed and Eli is in bed asleep. And Samuel starts to hear this voice calling out to him. And as he hears this voice, what he realizes is that he thinks that Eli might be calling him. So he goes in there. Eli's like, "It's not me. Just go back to bed." And but what it comes down to is the Lord was calling out to him, and when Samuel comes to this knowledge and he says this to the Lord. He says, "You can't be calling me Lord because I'm too young. You can't use me for anything." No, that's not what he said. I'm sorry, I misread that. What Samuel said, "Lord, I haven't learned. My training's not finished. You can't use me here. You need to be calling out to Eli." That's not what he said. In 1 Samuel chapter 3, this is the response of young Samuel to the Lord. He said, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." Isn't that wonderful? Aren't those words powerful? That instilled within the heart of this young person is already a love for the Lord and a devotion saying, whatever you need me to do, I'm here. And we were really thinking about this and don't really know how to phrase this as much as we just want to ask each one of us to think about who should be serving right now for the Lord. And if it's all of us or each of us, what's holding you back? Because Samuel really is a great example here of somebody who knew his role and was ready to embrace it. And I don't know that we realize how important each one of us are to the Lord, Matt.
That's so true. We each have a place in the work, and I think sometimes we do talk ourselves out of it as far as things that might be opportunities that present themselves, and maybe we're a little hesitant to jump in. Could be several reasons why. Sometimes one of those might be a fear of failure. What if I jump in and this doesn't work, or I fall flat on my face, or something happens, and I don't want to embarrass the church, or I don't want to have any problems come up. So it might just be better that I refrain from doing that at this time, or it could be I just don't feel qualified or equipped, for whatever it is, and there's other reasons why I think sometimes people hesitate. But one of the things, Jason, I want us to focus on this morning when we run into these kind of questions, and first of all, I think it is good when we are presented with an opportunity to serve, that we give consideration to it, we think about it, and we don't run into anything rashly, that we make a good, wise decision. But at the same time, when we run into situations where we don't feel qualified, we need to remember this fact about our God. Our God is the equipping God. He is the one that trains and serves and builds up and provides opportunity to grow. And he doesn't call for I can't say it this morning, for perfection, that's the word, for perfection in these things. He just wants a heart that's willing to get out there and try. And if you get knocked down, you get back up and you try again. But our God is the equipping God. And there's a number of examples in the Old Testament and in the New, Jason, where this example that you point out here with Samuel, from this moment, is going to go from a very young age, and he is going to be further equipped by Eli, but he then is going to step out into that role. I'm sure he didn't do it in perfection, but he stepped out into the role as priest. And if you look at his life, God equipped him to be one of the greatest spiritual leaders that Israel ever had. And it is absolutely amazing when you think of his life and the challenges that he met and rose up against and succeeded.
Well, Matt, I think even you can talk to the most experienced Christian, and I hope you just take that in a general way, but I'm talking about mature, wise Christian. They're going to find themselves in a situation where they're like, well, how am I going to handle this? I've been driving to places before where people have called me and said, I need you to come over. This is what's happening. Or, we need your help, intervention on this or whatever, and stepped in. And I have been right there, even in their presence, and I'm saying a prayer in the back of my mind, Lord, help me know what to say here.
Oh,
So-
I can tell you as a minister, there have been many, many times, Jason, where I've received a similar phone call, and you're on your way to help with whatever situation it is, and that whole way you're praying, Lord, just help me with the right words, help me to pray in a way that helps them, and just help me to be who you need me to be. And you walk into some of those situations and you feel totally unqualified, unequipped to handle it. And I can tell you that it is in those situations, I believe, where God rises to the occasion and helps you through to serve and be there in those very important moments. And through the years, I've been with people in some of the most raw, difficult, mind-blowing situations, and that there are no explanation for. But just, I think your presence there, that's one thing. When you come into a situation, you may feel totally unqualified to do anything, but just your presence there means so much. And I think your presence is going to be remembered more than the words that were ever spoken. I'll share this real thing and I'll let you speak again. It's been coming up on 20 years ago that my grandmother had passed away down in Arkansas. And Mom and Dad and I, we all flew in for the funeral. And we're there the night before the funeral, visitation. And of course, all my dad's family is there, all my extended family. And the visitation begins like at 4:00 in the afternoon, and it's a line of people. And it went on for hours. And I can still, 20 years later, I can tell you about people that came through that line that night, that knew my grandmother, knew us, we reconnected. Now, I can tell you 20 years later, I don't remember what in the world they said. I'm sure it was nice things. But what I do remember is their presence. And even at all this time later, that's what sticks out of my mind. Those people cared enough, some of them driving from one town to the other, several towns over or states over, to be there to let our family know how much they cared. That will never go out of my mind. And that is something we can all do. Just your presence to show you. It's not so much people care about what you say, although we need to say the right things. There's passages that talk about that. Let your speech be seasoned with salt and all of that. Let no unwholesome word come out of your mouth. All of those principles. But what people remember is your presence. And I could to this day go through a list of people, and some of these people now have gone on to their reward too, that were there for my family during a very difficult time, and how much that meant. And I think the challenge we have, Jason, is that we get so busy, so entangled in our own lives and our own affairs, that we forget some of the most simple ways to make a difference and serve inside a local congregation is just by our presence, being with one another. And I think we've got to this point where a lot of people in the church consider things that go on in the church as optional, electives. Well, I've got all this other stuff I'm doing, and if I get a chance, I'll serve, or if I get a chance, I'll help, or whatever. And I think we got our priorities backwards.
Man, I think what you've said there is pretty powerful, and I'm glad we're able to share, our personal story here. That, even there are moments that, we're never going to be able to be ready for or account for, but we're willing to put ourselves out there. And I would say we want you to feel free to do the same. And sometimes you're going to fall flat, but I'll tell you, you'll only do that once because, you're going to learn from it. And we want you to understand that this is not about, like Matt said, perfection. Just being there sometimes. Start out by just being there. That's what Job's friends did, and they had nothing to say for several days, but they were there. The scriptures teach to weep with those who weep and rejoice with those who rejoice. I mean, we're all there for the party, but sometimes things are sad, and you just need to be there. And many of you realize that I live about 3 or 4 hours away from where I grew up, where my brother, sister's mother, everybody lives. And, when I have to go home for a funeral, a couple months ago, my niece passed away and her baby. And my father, going on almost 10 years here soon. And this, I look up just to see people from Cornerstone right there to be with me. And even though anything that they said could barely bring me comfort, their presence of being there spoke words that could not be spoken. And there's things you'll never be prepared for. I used to think that me and Rich Walker were magnets to weird things because that man has endured some moments with me that I don't know what else nobody can make up. There's some weird things that me and him have both been called to, and we responded either late at night or something to, and I'm just like, how did this happen? And there's really not always words and stuff to say, but I think sometimes instead of looking for the door and saying, how can I intervene here? Too many times we discount ourselves when God's never discounted us. He sees himself as so valuable. Josiah didn't allow his age to keep him from making impactful changes that even his grandparent and so on had destroyed. Moses, didn't see himself counted as worthy when he said he didn't have natural abilities to do certain things, but God provided a way for him to do it. Paul could have used his past and said, I'm not worthy of doing this. This will never work out because, I have this reputation behind me, but he didn't. Ruth was a woman. She was a Jewish person, the wrong time, the wrong place, but she says, I'm here for the right time and the right place.
Thinking about this, I just kind of scribbled this down. Your mess can be your greatest testimony. So if you think about, man, I have blown it. My life is a wreck. There's no way I can recover from this. I want to stress that your mess can be your greatest testimony. So there is a guy that I follow on X. He is the grandson of Billy Graham. And I followed him probably 15 years. And this man, probably about 10 years ago, was busted having an affair, multiple affairs, if I'm not mistaken. He lost his wife, lost his family, lost his ministry, lost everything. And that's a really tough thing to come back from. But as I've watched him over the last 10 years or so, 8 or 9 years, as he's gone through various steps to recover from that, he's back into ministry. His life is radically different. But one of the things that I've noticed with him is the fact that he's not ashamed to talk about, hey, I mess up. I really blew it. I lost my family. I lost my marriage. I lost this. I lost that. But I'm back and I'm serving the Lord, and it's only by His grace that I'm doing that. And I obviously have some doctrinal disagreements with this man, but I admire his faith and trust in God and his example and how he has turned his mess into his testimony for the grace of God. And I think as Christians, we would do well to learn from those types of examples. There are a lot of things I think that can hold us back. And Satan gets involved in this because his job, his mission is to make you ineffective in the kingdom. And he can do this with seemingly things that feel right and seem right. Well, it makes sense that I couldn't do this because of a reputation or this or that or whatever. So I'd just be better to sit back and just watch everybody else do it.
Well, Matt, so who does the work? If, it's kind of like, I know nothing about air conditioning or cars or anything like that. And so when I need it done, I hire somebody to get done. And I wonder if we don't have the mentality that we'll just throw our money in the collection and the work will get done by some hired hand. And that's certainly not the vision that I see in the church. I see individuals engaging on individual levels. Yes, I see church action going on, but I want to just call your attention to James chapter 1, verse 27. Pure religion undefiled before God and the Father is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. There's not another writer that I find more impactful about our individual needs to engage and to connect with God and to make change and to make faith a part of our life than what James has written. And he's talking about impacting, the orphans and widows and people who need it the most, who are, as it says, in distress.
Jason, I'm glad you brought that passage up. We actually talked about that passage earlier today before we went on the air. And I know that as a deacon, one of your responsibilities is serving and making sure our widows and widowers here at Cornerstone are taken care of. Tell me a little bit about that experience and what you see going on among this church family as far as people that are reaching out and serving, many of them behind the scenes, things going on that you never know about.
Well, when I first started it was kind of something that I had came up with and said, I'd like to be able to try to do something like this to serve in our congregation. And the elders gave me that opportunity. And, excuse me. And when I started connecting with several of our people who live alone because they are widowed, really the need came up pretty quick because we had several people who had passed away or got really sick pretty fast right after we started trying to, in a more organized effort, address this. And what I realized is I'm like, okay, so do we need to bring in food? Oh, no, so-and-so's doing that. All right, well, maybe I should have somebody help you stop by and keep things tidied or cleaned up around. No, you don't need to do that. I can do this. And then so-and-so always stops by on Tuesdays and does that. And I mean, it didn't matter what I was coming up with. What I realized was the family of Christ was already engaged in these people's lives and suiting to some of these needs. But how were we not aware of some of that? Well, I'll tell you why. Because people weren't doing it for their own glory. They were doing it because they had a love for an individual. They were carrying out their mission that God had given them. You know what? They didn't ask me to cook for them. And I'm going to tell you something. That was a really good and wise move. They didn't ask me to fix their car. But I do get asked questions a lot about medicines and helping sort out this or read their medical report and help them understand that. And I felt like maybe I'm not doing enough here, but I realized that's all they were doing. They were just tapping into the skill set that I had. In Acts chapter 4 and Acts chapter 5, we see the church individually saying, hey, I got property I can sell. I can help my brethren out. Acts chapter 2, verse 44, they were seeing to the needs of all these people that were in Jerusalem for the purpose of worshiping the Lord on the Passover. And that was, they made sure that everybody had all things in common. The needs were being taken care of. Individuals making a connection and filling a need that came up. And that's, in my opinion, what it's all about, Matt. It's not me identifying a role that, Matt, you need to start teaching. Although, you know what? If you're not teaching, I hope you are. I'll add that. But it's not about that as much as you saying, how can I be used? And when these opportunities come up, doing it. At our congregation, man, we are blessed with unique people that are always thinking outside the box. We got a gentleman that he built a wood box and said, "You got food you can bring in. There's people in this city that need it. There's people in this family that might need it from time to time, and I'm going to help facilitate that." And people drop off food in it. There ain't nothing wrong with that.
I tell you, there's the collection box that sits in our coat room is continually full.
It's on wheels now because he has to wheel it out.
Yeah.
I'm shocked
it's
at
great.
that. But I think, Matt, we got away from some of that stuff because we had these fears of doing things wrong because we're going to create congregational actions where it doesn't exist and all this other stuff. But I'm going to say, instead of getting into that, I just want to get into the fact that an individual, saw something that he could do, okay? And we're not asking you to get up and preach a sermon next Sunday, okay? We're not. It's not that. But there's somebody that can.
Yeah. I tell you, I look at we get in the church and we get in these arguments over church action versus individual action, and it just gives me a headache. The command is to go do and to get out there and get busy. And I think because of a lot of man-made rules that we've brought in, it has prevented us from doing things that need to be done. And I'll leave it at that for now. That's a whole nother story. But I get a headache when I hear and think about some of these things because we make this a lot harder than it really is. God must look down and shake his head at us in just utter frustration when he looks at us and how we hold ourselves back because we're looking at it from a law approach.
Well, that's exactly our point, Matt.
And when I look here at like this passage, and I appreciate what Julie writes here as far as James 1:27, there is so much to do. And Julie, I know you have a kind of a unique insight into this with your work and the people that you counsel. Because there's just so much going on, broken families in the church. And I think that's in every congregation, by the way, where you have situations where dad is no longer in the picture or mom is no longer in the picture. I mean, this happens not just to women. Men have issues where they suffer desertion as well. And the opportunities to serve. I had breakfast 2 weeks ago with a friend of mine out in Seattle that's just lost his family, lost his wife. She walked out on his marriage. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure before I left that we had an opportunity just to share breakfast together because, you don't even think about this, but the fact of eating alone, when you've lost your companion, your mate, and you've got to go in and make your food and sit there and eat it alone. The pain that can be, and this brother confessed to me, he said, look, he says, that is one of the most horrible things about this whole situation. He says, I'm not much of a breakfast eater, but he says, in lunch I was used to eating in the office kind of to myself. He said, but supper, coming home and no one's there. And the silence, and then sitting there after that, just me. And I don't know if we realize what a lot of people are going through with just simple things, the mundane things that you and I take for granted, that other people have lost. And the simple act of serving, picking up the phone, taking someone out to eat, whatever it is, however you can do it. These are not things that require a degree. These are not things that require a special talent. It is just simply caring. And so when you look at fulfilling some of these expectations in James 1 or Galatians chapter 6, do good unto all, especially the household of faith, we need to quit looking for rules and just get in there and get to work. And
I think your point is just exactly paralleled with what Patricia Ogden is saying as well. That because somebody somewhere along the line ignored God's patterns and started doing some things wrong, under the precedence of doing things right, we have become hog-tied and paralyzed, and nothing gets done. And we're asking you this morning to say this. Is that not the right term for that?
Oh, I love it, Jason. You and I could be from the same family.
Well, I'm just saying, it takes us right back to where we started, right? If you had a heart like Samuel that says, "Okay, Lord, I'm hearing you. I'm listening to you right now, and I am your servant. Just tell me how you can plug me in." And instead of just creating this list of obstacles, well, I'm a woman, I don't have all these skills, or I don't have any extra time or money, or I'm very young, or I don't have a lot of natural abilities, whatever your list may be, I want you to start just saying, how can I plug in, and quit being paralyzed by, those things. And especially, do not use as a defense some blessing that God gave you as an excuse for not serving him. I hear that one all the time. I can't be at church because I got to work. And I'm not trying to open a can of worms, but I'm just saying God blessed you with that. You better be real careful. He blessed us with a lot of things. Put it to work. Instead of doing nothing, do something. And so we hope this morning you can be inspired by this little guy. 1 Samuel chapter 3. Our children are moving and they're pure. And, that's why we're dedicating some of these things this summer to them, to try to help them and continue to get their hearts tuned into a loved God.
So just a quick programming note before we get off the air. Jim, if you're listening, you're on here next week with Jason. So I've made it very public now. Jason, you got Jim next week. I get to fly out to Wausau, Wisconsin. Not Wausau, Waupaca. Somewhere way up north in Wisconsin. I'm going this Wednesday. I have a meeting, and I'll be preaching with the brethren up there. I'm excited about that. I'm getting to speak on parenting because I'm really an expert in this, Jason. I want you to know, after 25 years of raising kids. Just kidding. But no, seriously, I'm going to be up there with that congregation through next Sunday. So Jim Grushon is going to sit in here with Jason next week and take my chair. And then Wilson Adams is going to be back with us next Sunday to preach for us.
Well, maybe we can get Wilson to wake up and come and join us too. So put that public call out there for Wilson, and we'll have a trio next week. But
y'all have to work that out.
So, folks, we hope that you're going to engage with God's people today, and you're going to congregate, fellowship, worship, and with them, our great God. But if you're in our Dayton Centerville area, we hope you come and be with us. Maybe you're hunting for a church. Maybe you're hunting for people that just want to serve God and serve each other. And this is the place. 5051 Wilmington Pike, Centerville, Ohio. We start our gathering here this morning at 9:30, and we hope to meet you there.
We will see you again next week. Hope you all have a great week. Go out and go worship God this morning.